And hi guys, and welcome to Gadget Reviews. Welcome to this first Monday, so to speak. And I'm sorry that I'm late. Just so hard to do anything in this heat. I just feel these days that I'm going to melt like every 5 seconds. I don't know, all the time. So I wanted to continue with the book, at least to cover what is left, which is, well, the topic, as you can see. The title of the stream, The Imperium of Man, Future, and Emperor's Return and Guilliman's Role. So, we're going to focus on the last parts of the book where these things are hinted at, and we're going to make some conclusions about what may be coming, guys. So, as always, this is live, so if I make a tons of blah blah blah, you know, funny bloopers, they're live, so there's that. Okay, so let's see, guys, what you're saying in the comments as well. And I'm going to, play you the parts that I marked from the book so we can hear them and discuss them directly. Hi to everybody in the chat. Dear Clayton, dear Ivy, Dark. Don't care. That is awesome that you're here. Oh, you're from Germany. Oh, well, here is still very, very warm. As I said, melting out of proportion. Okay, so we are starting with that part where Guilliman, of course, spoilers. I wrote that, but just in case, spoilers for GODBLIGHT. So this is chapter, actually I'm not really sure, but it's basically the last hour of the book, and it's this moment where Guilliman goes to visit Matthew because Matthew called for him. And this is one of the most interesting and telling conversations in the whole book. So let's hear that part and see what we can extract from it.
I do not know how. It should be impossible. He went into the most contaminated part of Ajax without protection. From what the Adeptus Astartes who brought him here told me, he faced down one of the great plague creatures of the enemy. He touched a tainted artifact. He would have been exposed to all manner of disease and the malefactions of the warp, as you can see. But he lives. I can see, said Guilliman. Although the psychic element of his afflictions is no longer active, we have seen to that, the sheer number of morbidities afflicting him should have killed him hours ago. This man should not be alive. As you have said, said Guilliman softly. And what is your opinion from a non-medical point of view? There is his desire to see you, my lord. In other cases, I would say that this was keeping him alive. I have seen soldiers who should have succumbed to their wounds cling on for hours in order to receive final benediction from regimental priests. I have seen others suffer injuries that would kill a space marine outright so that they might complete their given task before they will allow themselves to die. But not in this case. No, he should still be dead. There is something going on here I am not familiar with. He is being kept alive by an outside influence, I'm almost certain. These keep out any kind of psychic energy. He gestured at the sigils in the glass. We are warded technologically and to the best abilities of the fleet psychers, but even so, something is reaching him from the outside. Guilliman was silent for another moment. Is it his faith? What is faith, my lord? Said Baziri. It is only another expression of the warp. No mortal man could believe so strongly to keep themselves alive through this. It is impossible. The actions of gods are stymied by these wards. The evident practical is that he is alive, said Guilliman. What is your theoretical? Baziri had seen too much horror in his life to fear anything, not even the Primarch, and the look he gave the giant son of the Emperor had a hint of admonishment. We are seeing the work of the Emperor before us. A miracle. That is my only feasible theory. Do you not think so, my lord? Guilliman chose not to answer.
Okay, I just want to say that basically there are a lot of things that you can say, well, it's open to interpretation, but here it's very clearly written that this is the work of the Emperor. Everything in their conversation leads to this conclusion, and I mean, they say it upright. I mean, this guy says this to Guilliman upright, that there's just no other conclusion to this type of a miracle. He's seen enough Astartes there that are being incredibly hurt, but nothing like this. So this guy should be dead, no matter how much he wants to be alive, but he still should be dead. So the only thing that can keep him alive is the Emperor. So to me, that has absolutely no doubt for me that this is the work of the Emperor. It's just obvious, and of course, it's still confirmed by everything else that's gonna follow.
To answer. I will see him now. I wish to know what he has to say. Then perhaps he can die in peace. He turned to face the chiromancer captain. There will be no record made of this meeting. You will leave. You will deactivate all machinery tasked with the gathering of data. Do you understand? Yes, my lord. Clear this area for 200 yards on all sides. Another little glance, another dose of admonishment. I am not sure that is strictly necessary. This is your ship, chiromancer captain, but this is my command as Lord Commander and Regent of the Imperium of Man. Do as I say. Gladly, my lord. Baziri gave a bow. But I must remain to open the chamber. Afterwards, you will leave also, said Guilliman. Yes, yes, as you command. Baziri went to a locker where a soft plastic hazard suit awaited him. He was practiced in its use and put it on quickly. Guilliman went to stand by the door. Baziri closed the fastenings on the suit. My lord, I would advise you to wear your helm. He harbors many sicknesses, and I do not know if you will be immune. I will not need my helm, Guilliman said, and faced the entrance. Open the door. Baziri attached the breathing tubes and inflated the suit. Very well, he said. The first thing that hit Guilliman was the smell. There was a sickening sweetness in the room of failing organs and decaying flesh. It made Guilliman's eyes water. Sweat prickled his brow as his post-human biology marshaled itself to fight off infection, and the devices of the armor of fate shifted into a higher state of activity. It was possible that Baziri was correct, and that there would be something in that room that could affect him, perhaps a last gambit of Mortarion. His incisive mind weighed all these possibilities, but he was not concerned. He could not know he would be safe. No theoretical could support that, but somehow he believed it. He approached the bed, pushing his way through the plastic sheeting, unafraid of contamination. The priest stared up at the ceiling, still in his repose, but for the rising and falling of his chest.
Okay, nothing important here. It's just that, when I try to listen to the book uh, during the day, when I usually do my meals, the meal prep at noon, yeah, all of that, it's so disgusting to listen to all the nergle related explanations and just depictions of everything. It's so disgusting. But I mean, that's normal. I'm just saying it's like, well, it's so good that it's horrible. Horribly vivid. Okay, anyway.
Of his chest, and even that was not his doing, for machines breathed for him. When he inhaled and exhaled, he did so to the click hiss of a pulmonary stimulator plugged into his chest. Militant apostolic? Matthew did not move. Matthew, Guilliman said softly. He examined his emotions. He had expected anger. He had anticipated grudging acceptance. The priest had done a great service after all. He had experienced confusion recently, and that was an emotion he was not fond of. But seeing the priest like that, gripped by a dozen different diseases at once, what he felt most was pity. The crusts at the corners of Matthew's eyes lifted. His face moved. Very slightly, he turned his head towards the Primarch. It took a moment for his expression to clear and his eyes to focus. My lord, is that you? It is I, said Guilliman, not sure if Matthew saw him. Yes, yes, the regent, said Matthew, as if that confirmed it all. His eyes closed and opened, and he swallowed, all actions performed with a glacial slowness. You came. I heard you wished to speak with me. I could not deny a dying man his last request. You considered it, though, said Matthew. He smiled. The skin on his lips cracked and bled. I was debating the You do not need to explain yourself, my lord. We are moved by the Emperor, you and I. We have little choice over our actions. So you believe. So I know. A little energy came into him, and he moved a hand encased by tubes.
Okay, so if you have some kind of an impression, so to speak, of the interaction with the Emperor that Matthew had and the interaction that Guilliman had, they're just two different things, two different dynamics. I mean, the Emperor has directly communicating with Matthew because he is open to the Emperor and believes in him and what the Emperor could do. Just overall, he feels him, he's like one with him because he accepts him. But Guilliman is not this way. He is very resistant, very in doubt, and yeah, basically he resists all of that. So that's why the Emperor had to took over him completely in order to heal him and talk through him and all of those things. But with Matthew it's totally opposite because Matthew is accepting of the Emperor, and the information just goes a lot easier. But yeah, let's get to the meat of things. I mean, the conversation itself is going to show that and how Matthew is passionate about this and speaks his truth, so to speak, what he is experiencing from his side, and Guilliman is still in doubt. He is like so grounded, so practical compared to Matthew, so it's very hard to get through to him. He is like this type of a warrior that, he just puts everything under question, and he's not used to go by what he cannot touch or feel. I mean, he likes to see something more tangible, so to speak. So he is like a bit opposite of believer in general and anything really. So it's an interesting difference between the two. So continuing.
By tubes. And so do you. You have witnessed it. His power. You have seen the light. I must disappoint you. I do not believe that my creator is a god, said Guilliman. He is something. He paused. He is something else, if he is anything at all. All his faith and desire for salvation is a blind hope. He will not help us. He cannot. We must save ourselves. A shame. A shame, Matthew said. His voice was a vox ghost on an unreliable channel, fading in and out of audibility. This would be so much easier if you believed. Perhaps you can't. I do not think it is your fault either way. He sighed and seemed to shrink into himself, as if every breath depleted him. You must listen to me carefully. Your father supports me, but his strength is needed elsewhere. Then speak, militant apostolic. I am listening. This is my final gospel, and it is the finest news of all. The Emperor is waking, my lord, Matthew smiled. He stirs from his slumber after long millennia. The armies of the faithful trail him. They bear him aloft. They empower him. Guilliman had his own opinions on this, but now was not the time to voice them.
Yeah, so quick little interjection here. So basically, I think that Matthew is telling the absolute truth, what the Emperor is relaying to him directly, but Guilliman is like, oh, I'm doubting this, I'm doubting that. He has his own opinion on it. well, his opinions in general are not based on his contact with the Emperor. He is just making conclusions of what he can see in the world, what he can perceive. He is kind of like the opposite of a psyker, and he's just the opposite of his father in that regard. So for him, he can just draw conclusions from, yeah, like I said, whatever he can perceive, and that is how he is acting. He's basically blind in all of this, which is shame how, how Matthew says it. Anyway.
Voice them. How? It is the warp, my lord, croaked Matthew. The enemy has made his greatest mistake by opening the rift. It may damn the Imperium, but it also may save it. The rift has empowered the Emperor. The energy of the Imperium saturates the universe, raising up mankind, filling the lowliest psyker with power. The rise in psychic incidents across the Imperium. This is what you speak of. Matthew managed a tiny nod. The movement broke pustules on his neck that wept clear fluid. Yes, your father is the greatest psyker of them all. How could he not be affected? Then why does he not step down from his throne? If he is capable of acting, why must I do his work for him?
Okay, I just don't think that Guilliman understands. Well, he doesn't. He doesn't understand how these things work. So that's, yeah, I mean, oh, Jesus, he is like the archetype of a person that is not educated in any of these matters, and he's just talking out of his butt because, well, he has the arrogance to do that, and in the same time, he has no education about those things. So he thinks that is that simple. But no, there's processes that the Emperor in this case has to go through in order for him to return in a more tangible way. And yeah, I mean, in order for him to manifest as Guilliman wants or implies, why he just, like do this and appear, well, a lot of things has to happen first. So it's not that simple. Even the most powerful, whoever I'm referring to, doesn't really matter, but even who, yeah, the most powerful gods, okay, let's say, they need a certain chain of events to be set in motion, power to be gathered in some kind of a way so they can do certain things. In this case, Matthew says that the armies of the faithful empower him, people that believe in the emperor. There are so many that they're like armies, and that empowers him. So he is fitting from that fate. So basically, he is becoming someone that is ascending to godhood in that way because he is a belief based entity now. And that goes back to the beginning of the book where we had this conversation of the Eldari. um, his name escapes me now, but he explained how the gods are. There's gods that are independent from fate, gods that are like on their own, that precede other gods in terms of who was created when, basically, more ancient gods and all of that, and how their power is measured and how their power is affected or is not affected by anyone's belief in them. So, in order to operate for the emperor, he has to go through a process. That's just absolutely so obvious. And of course, guys, I'm gonna get to your comments as soon as I finish here.
Work for him. He is not ready. That is why, said Matthew. Not yet. You must help him. And how would I do that? Said Guilliman, neutrally. I cannot answer that. It is your task. Again, a painful swallow. Matthew took a moment before speaking again. His words were a precious currency, and he was fast running out of coin. He has spent millennia arranging the pieces so that you might return, my lord. You are his only hope. You are mankind's only hope. A look of pain played over his face. We all have our part to play. Yours is to come. Mine is done. His eyes closed, and his next words were weaker still. Rejoice, Roboute Guilliman, and give your praise. Matthew's head sank further into the pillow, smearing the plastic covering with fluids. Praise be. The Emperor is awakening. You must guide his return. You came back. He can come back. You have a fool's optimism. Matthew smiled a final time.
Yeah, he does not have a full optimism, Guilliman, Mr. Get out of your butt! Sorry, Mike. He just knows that that is the case, so Guilliman's role is to return, but after that he doesn't really say how things are gonna go down, which of course he doesn't because we have other novels to look forward to, but we can speculate after this.
The final time. You deny the evidence of your own experiences. You know it to be true. You will find a way. Have faith in your father, and all will be well. Matthew's head rolled to the side.
Yeah.
Guilliman turned the man's face back to him. Though the smile remained, his spirit had gone, and the Primarch thought he had never seen such a look of profound peace on any man. He almost left, then bent low to whisper to the corpse. My father is no god. It is men who do his work for him, as I must now. He uses people. He always has.
Okay, so that is his, how to say this? It's just very common, damn it. I don't know how to explain this to you guys, but it's just a very common way of thinking for people that don't believe in anything, basically. So he is this archetype of this kind of a person. Jesus. Okay, let's go back a bit. I forgot my thoughts.
Any man. He almost left, then bent low to whisper to the corpse. My father is no god.
Okay, even if he wasn't a god, he is becoming one. So that's the first thing. Second, yeah, he needs men to do his job because he needs the tangible material forces to do things so they can set the stage for his immaterial/material return. That is how things are, and that is how things can happen. Otherwise, they cannot happen. So he uses people to do his bidding. Yeah, I mean, the nature of his power right now and what he counts on, and his ascendment. Damn it, ascending. Yeah, the way that he should ascend to godhood is through people, the faith that they have in him and their actions. So, Guilliman, you have to learn how these things work. He, like I said, going back to my previous point, he doesn't know how these things work, so he draws false conclusions about his father, and it just, yeah, it leads to very wrong ways of thinking about this. He doesn't understand these processes and how his father must work now, and that's kind of a unprecedented case what is happening to the emperor in general, because there was never a being like him that went through what he went through, that had such an ambition, that basically died in that way. I mean, died, you know what I mean, put on the golden throne, life support, but still rotting, still basically dead in a lot of ways, and still active in the warp, and still putting things in motion so his son also can come back from the dead. All of those things that only the emperor can grasp from his position, which is a lot above everything, and a look at what is going on in the immaterium, the warp, and in the materium. So to try to explain something like this to a guy like Guilliman is gonna be very, very hard, even if he sees the proof in front of him, because you know Matthew is a huge proof. He gave his life, he had a lot of experiences with the Emperor. He was, uh, well, gifted with his power for a bit, so he can like vaporize demons, and he fought bravely with this power. And all because he was perfect conductor for the Emperor's power, and the Emperor kept him alive to, to a point where it's enough to deliver this message to Guilliman. All of those things, they just speak for themselves. So you don't need any more proof. It's obvious what is happening here. The Emperor is doing his work. He heals, he helps the people to do those things, and Guilliman himself was possessed and he was healed. I mean, who else has the power to heal Guilliman from the freaking godblight that is killing everything and everyone, and would have killed also the freaking Mortarion, who is a freaking demon prince and all of that. So even him, he would have died from the godblight, meaning that is the worst possible poison that was ever created, if you can call it exactly poison, but you know what I mean. And Guilliman is still standing there talking to a priest that is alive by not anything that you can explain, anything material that you can ever explain. And he's still cynical about this. He's still cynical. I just don't get that. I mean, I get Gilman's character, but just logically, he is intelligent enough, but he cannot grasp this. So, what he went through, the fight with his brother, the fact that he was dying, burning out from the inside, from the pain, from everything, then his father obsessing him. uh, yeah, obsessing him. His father possessing him, fighting off his brother. I mean, Guilliman seeing through, talking with the Emperor as well. All of those things that he experienced still to somewhat conscious level, and he is still like, my father is not a god. Okay, Guilliman, do you remember what the Eldari guy said in the beginning of the book? You know, as always, I'm coming from the view of the authors themselves, from the writers, because if you have seen, heard enough stories in your life, you know how they're structured. Sometimes little crumbs, bits and pieces are like sprinkled around the whole story. And from the very beginning, that conversation that he had with the Aldari guy basically created the setup for later. So Guilliman could have the information to understand how gods are created, or how gods are divided by their kind, so to speak, the different types of gods and how they function, and how they're getting their powers, so to speak. And it was implied that he himself, Guilliman, could become a god, or becoming a god, because people believe in him. He's the regent, the guy that is ruling over the Imperium now, in the absence, the active absence of the Emperor. So he can also become a god through that same process and on that same principle. But Guilliman is just like a regular general. He is acting like a regular general that his whole life he's seeing only what's practical, and is like he have not seen psychers or powers or whatever. And he did see those things, but he's still like very cynical. How can you not change for so many years that we cannot even fathom, 1,000 years to be alive? Yeah, he was also 1,000 years dead, but before that he was 1,000 years alive, and now I'm not sure from how many years he's alive again, but it doesn't matter. You can get those things in 5 minutes if you really are not so close-minded. So that's on a note about his character, but I'm just, explaining what's going on here. Anyway, continuing a bit.
O God, it is men who do his work for him, as I must now. He uses people. He always has.
Yeah, and I've said a lot of times about the Emperor that, yeah, he uses people. I said that in my way, in a lot of other different contexts. And yeah, he does. He does. Sometimes that is, for them to build something in a way. Like the Primarchs are tools, but they're also his sons, but they're also developing themselves as warriors, generals, leaders, all those things. So there are some things that they are doing in terms of, for their benefit as growing up as people. So that is good for them, but it also benefits the Emperor in a way. So you can always say, yeah, he uses people. Well, yeah, somebody has to go on the crusade, somebody has to be sent in a system to kill a bunch of people so they can take over the planet and say, well, you're either with me, with the Imperium, you're against us. So, yeah, you know the you know the drill. But the point is that Guilliman can interpret that in so many ways. That doesn't mean that the Emperor doesn't have like a bigger goal in mind. That doesn't mean that he has only this particular intent to use people just because. It's not so simple and it's not just black and white. Continuing to see what is left actually from this part.
Has. Guilliman stood up, and with an armored hand, reached down to close the dead priest's eyes. Thank you, Matthew, for your service to the Imperium. I am sure when I tell your successor what you did, they will make you a saint. And I will not dissuade them.
At least he recognizes the devotion that Matthew had, because such loyalty, devotion, dedication, and faith, so he can do all those things, is rare. It is not so common. I think that was it from here. Oh no,
In the room, there was an adjustable medical couch and a wide rank of inks in pots, and incense burned in every corner. It was paved with rough stones. Panels of the same rock covered the walls, all taken from the mountains of Honorum. Within, Chaplain Voldires awaited Justinian. Though a servitor stood inactive by the couch.
Yeah, I remember this part. So that is actually what was most important here. There was another part unrelated to this where this Astarte warrior, I just forgot his name, he finally picks up that book that the demon of Nergle was nagging him to get, and he reads this title that Sanguinius the Emperor or something like that. I'm paraphrasing here. And now he's gonna read that. So that is the other setup. One is, what is Guilliman now going to do? He left Ultramar. He left this guy. Totally forgot his name. Never mind, to rule it. And he's basically now on his way to find a way to help the Emperor, even though he is clueless about wait a sec, about what he has to do. But I hope that the truth or his goal should be revealed somehow, some way. So now we have to think how this is going to happen, because he's such a stubborn guy, damn it. So somehow, some way, the Emperor has to find a way to get through Guilliman, maybe through someone else, or maybe directly. We will know. It's very hard to tell, even from the writer's perspective, how they will do this. It's it's really like so open, but we only know that he's gonna find a way. That is what Matthew said. He's gonna find the way. So maybe he's going to get out of his butt, eventually. And the demon that, there's a whole scene with him. He goes into the garden. He speaks with the other guy. I'm just not good with all of those names. But basically, he is saying that he planted that thing with the book so that Astarte can find it, read it, and somehow steer the pod. Literally, no, not literally. I mean, I'm thinking about the Nergle spot, but okay, not literally. I mean, but somehow steer the pod in the Imperium and ruin everything. I don't know how that's gonna happen. He didn't say that exactly, but he thinks that although this guy is like smaller, a smaller part of the story, and he doesn't seem all that important. I don't know what he can do. When he finds out about when Sanguinius was emperor of the Imperium Secundus, maybe he doesn't know that. I don't know. It shouldn't be if he is explained. I mean, if somebody explains to him, Guilliman, if he explains to him how things happen and why Sanguinius had to become the emperor for a short time because they didn't know that Terra is safe, because they didn't know if the emperor is even alive. All of those things, if he explained that to him with a reason, everything has to end right there and there. But I guess that they're going to present, or that the start, he's gonna think that things are just so bad that Guilliman betrayed the Imperium or something like that. It's very hard to imagine how this is going to go, and to an extent that's going to be so bad that huge problems are going to be spawned from this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that's gonna go, but it's definitely a plot point and a breadcrumb left in the story for something to develop at the end, guys. So, for me, to finish this, and I'm gonna watch your comments, I think that the Emperor is gonna return. Maybe in the next book. I'm kind of think it's gonna be like 2 more books on the second that he's gonna return. We'll see about that. I just think that in the next book they're going to like build this up, and then in the next book, second one, they're just going to finally do it. I don't know. I'm just thinking that maybe, or another trilogy, and in the third book that's gonna happen. And Guilliman's role is to bring the Emperor back somehow, some way. And from there, it looks like the Emperor is going to be against Chaos directly, and the fight is going to begin. Yeah, I'm getting really sleepy here, and it's getting really late, so let me see what you guys have been talking about in the meantime. Oh, wow. Okay. I will need to expand, and I will need a second. A Nishie. What exactly is Nergal god of? Of very disgusting things. That's how I think of him. Of every disgusting thing possible. But yeah, you know, rotting stuff, corpses, zombies. The 40k version of every zombie possible. Something. Well, I answered that, and the book answered how is Matthew alive. So going down. I wonder personally how anyone can like Nurgle, because he's gonna make you rot, smell, and just be walking abomination in a horror show. Um, you know, breaking all the laws of self-respect. And yeah, you're not gonna feel it, but you're still gonna be a walking disease, and I just don't want to get into that. It's just horrible. Yeah, Dark, he needs time. I'm just wondering how much time, because the Emperor has been on the freaking Golden Throne for far too long, and I just don't want them to drag this, you know, too much. I just prefer if we can get the Emperor finally, and to see how he's gonna return and hopefully kick some chaos butt. Okay. Okay, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, well, Harry is basically hinting at something important. I mean, the Emperor cannot just spawn out of existence and into material world and all of those things, because he does has to empower the Golden Throne and keep chaos at bay. So he knows how to do this. We don't know how he's gonna do this, but he is trying to do this without letting chaos in, obviously. So there's that. That is also, something very interesting. He has to manifest in a way that's not gonna hurt the Imperium. So very interesting how they're gonna write this. The fact that he is a perpetual here uh, does not act as so like directly as it would in other circumstances, because like I said, the circumstances themselves are just very complicated, and he has to have this in mind. He cannot just return without any plan and make a complete chaos on his own somehow. So basically, he does know what to do. He just needs Guilliman to do it. Oh boy. Well, I don't know if they can bring him back. I'm not reading everything at once, just one by one. So, if they can bring Sanguinius back, but they can certainly empower him to also, I mean, for him also to start becoming a god. And then he can come back when he's also ready. That's kind of like the process, it's a building process. And maybe, and that is very interesting, maybe when Big E is back, that's gonna, make this environment or create different possibilities for the other Primarchs to also get back. So that is awesome. I mean, for now, that is just the theory that makes sense to me, at least, for this time, that for now, Guilliman is portrayed as the only hope of the Imperium, the only last, yeah, last loyal son, all of those things, because he just has to lead the events and create the events so then the Emperor can return. But after that, this doesn't mean that when the Emperor finally returns, he will not bring the other sons back. If he returns, he will probably bring his other Primarchs back. Exactly. And firstly, maybe Sanguinius. So I do think that even if there's a chance the other Primarchs in general to be back, and I do think so, that's gonna happen only after the Emperor is already back. That's how I think. Because they're already emphasized very clearly that Guilliman is the one and only tool that can enable the Emperor to return. And he also helped Guilliman return. I'm sure about this. He somehow healed him and helped his return as well. It wasn't only Guilliman's regeneration. So and that is also actually implied pretty clearly by Matthew as well. The Emperor created the steps so Guilliman could be on his way and make this return possible. So after the Emperor is alive, he's gonna bring back his sons. I do think so. It's gonna be so interesting to find out, but it's a great food for thought. Okay, I really have to go, guys, so let me go through your comments as much as I can. I really love when you guys have a great conversations here. Golden toilet. Well, after, I mean, the Imperial truth is off the window long ago. After the heresy is just off the window. Nobody has any illusions that there's no warp or gods there or just esoterical stuff. Here, esoterical pretty much in this book is repeated a lot, which kind of surprised me that they're using exactly this word, but it's extremely prevalent. Well, that's such a long topic with the Astartes, okay. I can't touch upon everything now. And Magnus is always a big, broad conversation himself. Interesting stuff. Oh, Magnus. I mean, I really have to see how things are with Magnus, you know? Because with Fulgrim, he basically got replaced by the demon. After that, I don't know if he retained his own consciousness or not. I just have no idea what happened after he was basically possessed by the demon and he was just in his head watching through his own eyes what is happening, but he had no control of his body. So he was just replaced, and Magnus already regretted and realized actually what he did. I made a very extensive review of Fulgrim, that book, so but after that book, I don't know if something particularly happened. Yeah, Matty, hi to Materian, my other Primarch. Yes, Nergo is also my least favorite because he's disgusting. Oh, Vulcan, yeah. I also hope that he can come back. Well, Biggie is the only one that could be on the Golden Throne without vaporizing immediately. Okay. Cuddly guy. Isn't that because of TTS? Oh, Dorn is gonna be so good. I mean, if he comes back. Yeah, I know. I already went through Logar. Okay, guys. So that's gonna be it. Leave your comments down below as always. A lot of different possibilities and things to talk about. I I just wonder at the moment which book I have to tackle next. I'm thinking the previous two of this trilogy because, as I said before, I know what's happening there, but it's another thing to delve into the topics and dissect them myself. And it's totally different for somebody else to tell me what happened because people understand things differently and I can trust only myself basically to be sure what can be extracted from the book or not. So I am just looking at things in the deepest way possible, and yeah, I prefer to do that myself. So maybe I'm going to start with the first book, the second book, that's gonna be the whole trilogy, and after this we'll see. So yeah, probably gonna start with the first book, and that way I'm going to be completely into this trilogy, like fully in. And yeah, then whatever comes, I'm not sure, like once a year or every 2 years, in what period of time these novels come out, but at least now I'm completely caught up and I just have to catch up with what I can so I can have first-hand experience. And I really want to continue with the Horus Heresy because I'm already in okay, let me see. I skipped Nemesis. For those that don't know, I got to like maybe the middle of the book. I just need to go to my Golden Astartes room with the books, but I have to yeah, I had to skip Nemesis. I mean, to stop with it because it was horribly boring, and I already know enough about the assassins. If the book was interesting, that would be amazing, but just the least interesting book of 40k that I ever had to go through. So I'm basically on 1,000 Suns. I have to start 1,000 Suns when I finish with the 40k books of this trilogy, and then it's Prospero Burns, and that book was very praised by some of you. So yeah, that is the goal. That is the goal now, guys. Jake, hi to you. Very happy to see ya. You really have to go back and yeah, check what we dissected, but actually very important part. Well, thank you, don't care. See ya, guys. See ya. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. See ya tomorrow if I can, of course. And as always, if you like to support me, you can become member of the Imperium. We have badges and other stuff depending on what you choose. In the live chat and in general, what I can offer you. And for those of you that can benefit from my education at OnlyFans, you are free to join there as well. The new videos are posted and I keep expanding there with a ton of content each week. With that being said, guys, thank you. Until next time, with me, GODBLIGHT Reviews. Have a great new week, guys. Bye bye.